All right. How you guys doing? Here today, finishing The Duck, which is now 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, something like that, 3 weeks overdue because I simply did not work on it enough. So, pretty simple stuff today. We're going to sit back, drink a little Budweiser, genuine, the great American Budweiser lager beer, uh, the king of beers, actually, and sand a duck. And if we get through the first iteration of sanding on the duck, we will move on to working on some rings, but we'll see how long we're going to be working at a duck. So I got to put on a mask because I do not want to breathe in too much of this dust. You know, they use an aluminum in that sandpaper. You don't want to breathe that stuff in. That sucks. So yeah, just gonna get into position here so that you guys can watch me work, and I'm just gonna go to town. So it'd be nice to be a smaller piece. So weeks and weeks now, I haven't brought the duck up again. Uh, show you guys real quick. Um, Carved out wings, obviously, because it is a duck. It does have wings. It's got its little tail going on there, little bill going on. Someone had mentioned that it looked too much like a platypus, so I kind of thinned it down a little bit. Uh, so yeah, so it's all been carved out as far as that kind of stuff. But once I get this first sand done, and I actually have a good starting surface to work on, we'll make it a little face too. Because what kind of duck doesn't have a little face, right? Really, my first one of my first real projects where I'm carving something that isn't, you know, just for utilitarian purpose, something decoratively. I don't carve often. I've talked about that a little bit. Uh, I did this all just with my chisel because I don't own carving knives because I don't usually carve. If I do, I'll usually use like a razor blade if I need to really, really do something that badly. But the I have literally like one good chisel that I purchased, which is like the best tool purchase that I've ever made in my life, and it's nice and sharp. It works pretty good for carving out the wings, getting the tail kind of nicely carved out there. Trying to get a nice. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but trying to get a nice ridge on this wing here. You can see my finger getting caught on it. So when I go and put a finish on it, it really sticks out. Uh, I figure my finish. I'm still trying to decide. I maybe we'll talk about it in the thread. Uh, but it's either gonna be my classic oil and beeswax, which is my favorite finish to just use in general. Or it might be something crazy like shellac or something like that. We'll uh, we'll decide that as we go. But the very first thing that it's going to get is oil of some sort. That's going to be the coconut oil, just to get down into the pores of the wood. I might even, I'm almost thinking maybe mineral oil. I'll see what I have going here. Not a lot of power tool stuff tonight. It's all just me working by hand. This is the unglamorous part of all this work, is like sitting and sanding. You know, for every project that you do, this is like the longest part. I think that's the difference between people who take this up as a hobby and people who don't. Woodworking, that is whether or not you like to sand things. Because if you don't, you're not going to really like woodworking very much. Because if you want anything to look pretty, it's a lot of just sitting here freaking doing this. But I'm going to do a 3-stage sand. I'm starting with the 120 right now to just shape the last little bit of shape. Put round corners on things that have sharp corners. Really, get everything, the whole surface kind of uniform. Make my life easier when I get into the second sand. Which will be with 200 or 240 or whatever. 240. Um, and then after that, we'll do a wet sand with 400 to get the surface just nice and smooth. I have a gouge. Let's see. Maybe if I rub some sawdust into it, you can see it there. I have a gouge right there in the side of the duck, which is going to look like shit if I stain it. But I'm tempted to leave it. I think I'm going to leave it for now until it annoys me so much that I have to get rid of it. I think that's going to be my plan for that. Sooner or later, I'll keep seeing it and I'll be like, oh, god damn it, I got to get rid of it. But right now, while I'm doing this, it's just not the time. Actually, really, it's the perfect, god damn it, it's the perfect time. So really what I should do is I should get my chisel out and I should smooth this out a little bit. Working from behind the gouge. Like in the opposite direction as the gouge is. Trying to turn the gouge in just a slight little kind of bowl-shaped tunnel thing. So when it sands out, it doesn't really have any sharp edges to it. So it'll still be visible with finish on, because it'll shine differently than everything else, but it won't be quite so jarring and freaking apparent. Because with the finish on, it's going to reflect a little bit of light. So when you have surfaces that are very convex or very concave, they kind they crinkle the light. So it's really easy to see those spots if you fuck up and get gouges and stuff in them like that, like I have done here. But I think just a little bit of love here, we can make it not so bad. It'll still have a little bit of a line, but it'll just that way it's a literally a person original, because it has a little shitty part in it. For being this is uh, I don't know if you guys remember this, but this particular piece of wood is just like literally construction grade Douglas fir. So the absolute cheapest shit that I could use. Um, and goddamn, I gotta say, it's actually quite nice looking when it's getting cleaned up. It's gonna be a really cool piece with finish on it because the grain pattern is fucking huge. It's gonna look like it's striped. which should be pretty cool. I don't typically work, if I'm going to work a piece of wood, like actually like work it, make it look nice. I don't typically use such a hunk of junk, as it were. But I had this. It was the right dimensions. I just had to cut it down with the miter saw a little bit to get my block that I needed. So I went with it, and I'm not displeased. I'm really not. Wearing my fashionable N95 mask to avoid breathing in as much of this particulate as possible. I do look pretty damn good. If you guys wanna, I don't know if I can actually. Hi. I don't know if you could actually see me there, but give you a little wave so you can see how good I'm looking. Last week I was a little frazzled, not looking my best. Shop a mess. My shop is still a mess, but yeah, looking good tonight. So yeah, like I said, we're just using this. This is 120, so pretty damn coarse stuff. To just do a little bit of a little bit of the last shaping, and to just get a nice uniform surface. That's the deal. Let's get a uniform surface, and then from there we can really start sanding stuff. You know. Hardest part is getting into this dang crevice of his neck here. Now, of course, if I was a sane person, I would just be using a Dremel to do this, and I have a Dremel, but that's kind of not the point of doing this, this stupid stream. Like I'm almost out to do everything the hardest way possible, except rings. Rings, dude, I just want to get done. It's a lot to do production wise, especially like so much of it has to be done by hand. That if I have any chance to use a power tool, I'm gonna fucking take it. I feel like anyone who's watching this is like a true a true masochist. A true masochist. I feel like a masochist just based on the fact that I enjoy sitting here doing this. Like that's disturbing to me on a personal level. But to be the person who sits around and watches me do this, holy shit, guys. You guys are gluttons for punishment. I like it. I still like to believe that some of you at least will watch this in the hopes that I'm gonna lose a finger one of these days. And I've made it I've made it quite a ways, quite a number of decades in this life playing with sharp things. And I have yet to lose one, but You know, it could always happen. It's just like watching NASCAR. You never know when there will be an accident. Now, to be fair, I've never actually watched NASCAR, but you know, I'm not sure why else you would watch it. Yeah, I am really pleased with how this is starting to clean up now. Really, really pleased. I'm like just in awe. You know, this wood was like $4.98 for 8 feet of a 4x4. You know, like just literally like worthless, but it's actually pretty when you take some time and give it some love and you know try and make it look nice. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it will look nice, huh? Maybe we'll get lucky. Luck, he says. Right. It's all skills. Sometimes some things do feel like luck when you're woodworking, you know? Like, especially bad luck. There's like some times where you like get through working something and you're like, oh man, look at this thing that I made, and then you set it down and like it falls apart because there's a crack running through the center of the wood that you didn't notice. That's fun. That's a fun feeling right there. Like you like at some point you just kind of itsy bitsy too much weight onto it, and you just hear a little click, and then you're like, oh great, well I'm starting over. Those are bad luck days. Don't like those days very much. I am once again wearing my short sleeve jumpsuit tonight. Ah, makes me makes me feel like I am able to react to circumstances uh, in a timely manner. Also, I don't have to worry about wiping gross stuff on it, so that's nice too because it is gross. So it's kind of a good place to put gross stuff. Okay, just really want to drink this super crappy beer before it gets warm. Okay. Still more sanding to go. There's just you know some gouges and stuff like that need to be gotten rid of before we move on anywhere. particularly on the back of the neck here, where my carving job is perhaps not as smooth as it had been everywhere else. See, I'm going to do this initial sand, and then we're going to start working on some, like, facial features. When I have once again, when I got a nice smooth surface to work on, we'll start effing around with maybe giving it some eyes, separating the bill with a line so it looks like, two parts. I don't know how much more past that. Maybe outlining the bill a little bit. Just kind of have it visually separated from the head a little bit. You know? Oh my goodness, just working this stuff right now. This is what the viewers want to see. Just a man sanding a duck. Hours of it. I got this like weird little saddle here that is sanding out all funny. Let's see. Hopefully it'll just kind of sand out as I go here. I know, this is so... it's so exciting. I'm giving you blow by blow of my sanding. This is... I really should just start a watching paint dry channel where we just get together, we all watch paint dry together. Really enjoy ourselves, Almost tempted to go back through with the chisel here. Or maybe, you know what? We will take the half round, remember, half round, because it is half round, rasp back here. It's a real fine rasp. Just try and work out some of these. Excuse me, that was the Budweiser. Just try and work out some of these gouges that are back here. Get this to just be a little bit more uniform, surface-wise. See, I'm being dumb, and I'll tell you why. This is really stupid. I'm putting my finger like this. I don't know if you can see that here. I'll move it over here. I'm putting my finger like this on top of the file, which, okay, great. Seems like an awesome idea because I can press down and get a lot of, like, oomph behind it when I file. Actually, it's fucking dumb as shit because it'll really hurt your finger after a while. The reason why there's a handle is because you're supposed to use it. So I know that sounds crazy. It blew my mind the first time I heard it. But a lot like the same way you would use a kitchen knife, you don't put your hand up on the dang blade, you hold the handle. Well, I guess in some parts of the world you put your hand up on the blade, but not in America. Oh, that's actually helping quite a bit. Oh, it's actually, it's shaping out the neck a little bit more, making it, once again, doing some visual, I'm doing it again, doing some visual separation, just by changing an angle here, an angle there, making things seem like they're set farther apart than they actually are. This is helping a lot with that, with the neck and the head. I'm just like, still getting some little gouges here. Getting there. Almost tempted to take a slightly rougher half round to it. I got this one here that's just like right in between my super rough one and that one. So let's see if that maybe gets us through this a little quicker. I know I've talked about it before, but this stupid thing is like $5. Like you can get it under a million different brand names. It's 4-in-1 wood rasp. This fucking thing for like $5 is the greatest tool I've ever gotten in my entire fucking life. It really is. If you are someone who needs to shape wood on a regular basis, this stupid thing shapes wood so fast and so nicely. It's ridiculous. It sucks. The only thing about it that sucks, you should really wear a glove when you use it. I'm not right now because I don't feel like switching on gloves and switching off gloves. But because if when you're holding it by a rasp, basically, because it's a rasp on four different sides. You know what I mean? So that's the one downside is when you grip it, you're gripping it by a rasp. But this thing is fucking sick. The rasp sizes are like logical are like meaningful. God damn it! Like they actually help. You know, one side actually removes some good material, and the other side maybe doesn't do like finish work exactly, but it does some slightly finer stuff that helps you get through some bad sanding sometimes. You know. So now this is looking a little bit better. We can get the sandpaper in there and start working it. Yeah, there we go. You know, 9 times out of 10. So my workbench here has a particle board on the top of it. 9 times out of 10, I'm kicking myself. Why the hell do I have freaking particle board on this thing? It's a pain in the ass. It's always fucking like chipping up, like so on and so forth. And then I do a project like this where I want to keep something looking nice. And I have to admit, it is nice to have a soft material on top of my bench. Okay, this is interesting. I'm actually getting kind of deep into the grain there. This is interesting. Kind of digging out some wood without digging out other wood. I'm not sure what's going on here. Go back to the rasp real quick and see if I can't kind of flatten that out a little bit. Very strange. This seems to be dealing with it okay though. This might end up getting just cleaned up with the rasp here. and then dealt with a slightly finer sandpaper. I'm just worried about digging farther into it at this point. Alright, we got the front to do here. And then here's the best part of this whole thing, is that once we're done here, we sand more. And then we sand more, and then we sand more. It looks like I'm going to have to go down to the 240 to start doing any meaningful carving. This wood is junky, and it does require me to get it a little bit more prepared to do any detail work, apparently. So I'm gonna see what the 240 does after we get done with this 120 here, and just figure that out. I will admit the mask, something that I've been learning throughout this whole COVID, global pandemic stuff, is that I sweat a lot when I wear a mask, and I I'm guessing my face does not smell pleasant at the end of the day. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Boy, oh boy. I am not upset by this. This is looking pretty good. This is making me pretty happy here. Not too bad. Not too bad. I see one or two little gouges here still. Alright. Let's kick it up. Gonna sit back and have another swig of my beer real quick. And let's move up to a finer grit up to the 240 now to try and get things to a nice even surface. This is, I once again, I don't usually work wood like this. I got my fancy pants wood, that I harvest or that is given to me, that I work, but never ever have I done something decorative with construction grade wood. For your guys' knowledge who don't know anything about woodworking or wood in general, construction grade wood is like literally the cheapest shit you can buy. It's the 2x4s in new build houses. Is construction grade wood. Like rated to hold up a certain amount and have a certain amount of flexibility, but that's about it. All right, let's see. Pull out my big old box of wood shaping shit. Uh, Love it. Pretty soon here, literally a person has to make a trip to the hardware store. I'm running out of 220. It was 220, not 240. 220 sandpaper. There we go. That's really buffing it out some. You can see what I mean, though. It's going to be, when it's finished, you're going to really see those stripes. So it's going to be a pretty striped duck. which, you know, why shouldn't it be? Ducks can be any color they want if you can pretend it. Nice thing tonight, I'm not moving the camera around and shit. Makes my life a lot easier. Just kind of working in one spot. It's kind of nice for me in that regard. Not so many trips around the shop for you guys. Whoever you may be. Yeah, this is also showing me some places I'm gonna have to go back and make passes at with the 120 again. Kind of pushing some of the dust out of some of the grooves here. That's good though, because I need to see those places. So I want to make sure that I get a nice, you know, I want it sanded nice enough that it really does reflect light nicely when it's finished. I mean, honestly, I'd like it sanded well enough that even before it's finished, it reflects some light pretty well, you know? Once again, I don't work this type of wood, so I don't know if that's actually a possibility, but I guess we'll find out, won't we? Yeah. Looking pretty good. Definitely got some spots here that I'm going to want to go back over with that 120. But it certainly looks like it's going to polish up nice. I mean, once again, we'll see. I don't really know, you know? Usually I have an idea of what the end product is going to look like before I get started, but in this case, you know, I mean, I guess I could go and look at other people's projects and, you know, who've used a similar material are going to do a similar finish. That's the other thing. Finding people who do finishes in beeswax and stuff is few and far between. You know, a lot of people like to default to something a little bit less labor intensive. Because oil and wax is labor intensive. It requires you to sit there and do something very similar to this for quite a while. Well, I mean, you guys have seen before. You'll see again. You know, it's my go-to finish. Boy, he's starting to look duckish. You know what I mean? Like, starting to get that duckly aspect about him. Let's I'm going to work on the head a little bit here. We're going to see about maybe starting to try and add in some detail in the face. Something kind of, oh geez, I don't know what I have that's really fine enough to do this kind of work. So I'm going to just work the very corner of my chisel here and try and freehand some kind of duck face here. This is not a recommended strategy for doing this by and by. Just once again, I don't carve very often. I do not have carving tools. I'm cutting myself with my chisel like a jamoke. Okay. I gotta pull this into my lap for 1 second. I'll be right back up there. Okay, well that did not work. So let me see. What else do I got? I have a shitty rickety pocket knife with no handle. That is rather sharp, or is rather dull, so I'm just gonna real quick hone it. Yeah. There we go. Now it's sharp. Quick hone does a lot of good. Oh, you know what I should do? Is I should make holes. And then I can put something in the hole to make the eye. Ah, see, now this is why we think about stuff before we do stuff. I am tempted to just freehand it with my drill. Give me a second. Let me go find a drill bit that I want to use for this. Sometimes the plans change. Once in a while, you think of something a little bit better. I think. I don't know. We'll see if it's actually better, right? This could be the time where I ruined the duck, where I just straight fuck the duck. So we'll find out if that's the case. He may end up having very googly eyes. Let's find out. What do we think? Big eyes? Oh yeah, big eyes for sure. For sure. I got a smaller bit too, but I don't even think that that's an option. Okay, so we're gonna freehand this. Woo! Wow. Okay, that went so much better than I was expecting it to. Get a look at that. Those are freaking duck eyes. I wonder. Oh, I have some. Oh my goodness. Oh, I got great ideas for that. Okay, so we got duck eyes. I'm pretty I'm pretty pumped on that. I can't believe that actually worked. They're a little offset, but it's kind of a wobbly duck. So I think that's okay. I'm gonna go back down to the 120 here and go back to some of these gouges that I found while I was using the 240. And it's gonna, it's gonna be a trade-off game like that where I go and I use one grit, and then once I use another one, I'll expose some flaws and go back and have to use the other one again, and you know, sometimes they just get filled with sawdust, and using the same grit of sandpaper doesn't really get the sawdust out of the cracks or out of the gouges, and before you know it, you go and you start working the other sandpaper, and it's like, oh yeah, now I get to go back and fix all this shit that I fucked up already. Oh yeah, that's helping. So now I'm thinking I have like some BBs or like balls from ball bearings. I don't know exactly what the hell they are, but I think they'll fit into these eye holes that I've made. So I'm thinking maybe those might be the eyes. We'll see how that goes next time. That'll definitely be part of the finish. But yeah, now I'm excited. That's awesome. I don't have to carve eyes, which is great for me. I think the idea of doing that with a slightly dull pocket knife was scaring the sweet balls out of me, honestly. I like having all my digits. I do. I'll admit it. I'm a prima donna in that way. That I enjoy having all of my fingers. Call me a diva if you must. Yeah, looking pretty good. I want to leave a little, like just a little kind of chisel mark at the edge of the wings, so that the light kind of crinkles around the wing edge, so it's really, really defined. Sometimes it's nice. I mean, it's always dependent on the project, but sometimes it's nice to leave tool marks and stuff. I mean, sometimes it's nice to see something that you can tell was worked by hand. I guess would be the way to put it. Like some of the best finishes for like nice pieces of furniture I find are when someone just like takes a wood plane to the product and then doesn't even sand it. Just a beautiful hand plane, actually being able to see the work that goes into something is sometimes very nice. Sometimes. Hopefully by next time I'll have my vise all put together. I talked about it. I don't know, one of these shows. Someone gifted me a vise, so it had been left outside for a while. I got all the parts soaked in vinegar, got all the rust cleaned off of them, but now I'm just putting it back together. But I just haven't quite made it there yet. That'll definitely make sanding stuff go a little bit faster. It has tough jaws in it, but I'm gonna just, use some felt so I can do some stuff so I can put stuff in there without it getting hurt too bad. But something like this would be nice to have the third hand, you know? Yeah. I'd like to think that, like, in a way, that this is like a good simulation of what it would be like to be a shitty boss. You know, just sitting there watching me work. I guess you could also, like, I don't know, say mean stuff in the chat about how I don't have a work ethic and stuff like that. I guess you could do that too. But yeah, like, I hope that when you watch this, you're feeling bossy. You know, that you're feeling like, oh man, look at this laborer laboring for my amusement, for my profit. Yeah. Old boss man YouTube watcher. I got my third subscriber uh, a few days ago. Very exciting. Uh, Valco or Val. Oh man, no, I think I already messed up your name. But whatever. Either way, third subscriber. Very excited. Because that means that I'm pretty sure I'm famous now, which is cool. I mean, honestly, it hasn't changed my life very much. Still the same old guy. You know, but it's nice to get the recognition of my adoring public. It's a great thing. I was just talking about how pretty it is to leave in tool marks as I just sit here and obliterate any and all tool marks on this piece of work. That's okay though. You get to, that's the cool thing about making art with wood is you get to choose. Not every beautiful piece of woodworking is finely finished. Some of it is rough around the edges. I mean, of course, when you think of like famous woodworking, you know, you think of like I think probably what most people who woodwork think of are people, you know, people who make complicated desks and chairs and furniture like that. But uh, you know, there's a lot of beauty to be had in things that were just made for literal utilitarian purposes. You know, um, you go down to California, uh, you know, and you can see some of the work that the WPA and I don't know, maybe the CCC, although I think they worked in different areas. But you can see the work that they did. And I mean, these are guys who, you know, are making things that work, you know, more than they're just making beautiful things. They're making things that work. And yet, you know, you walk through the developed areas of like the place that I love the most. Actually, it's what I stole their ideas for joints to make my to make my dining room table. But I love the redwoods area there in California, and any of their developed areas, you know, that have bridges built or pathways built. You know, all that stuff was built originally by the WPA, and there's just so much beauty in a piece of wood that was literally cut there on site, being shaped and crafted into a joint and put together in the middle of the woods. You know, that is just extremely beautiful. Um, and those rough hewn edges to those joints are in themselves just a beautiful thing. You know, I don't know. It seems dumb to be excited about, but there you go. That's woodworking. It seems dumb to be excited about. Oh wow, this is just really getting beautiful. Really getting beautiful. I thought I was gonna get to finish tonight, or at least to the start to doing oil at least, but I really don't think I'm gonna make it there. I'm probably gonna keep the stream going for like 15 more minutes, and then I'm gonna pack it up. Uh, so yeah, I just don't think I'm gonna make it there tonight. Next week, I'll save the duck so that next week we can start finish on it. I mean, I'm gonna be pretty close when we get done tonight. I'm gonna be just about to the point that we can do wet sand. I think. I hope. Which wet sand is where I'll set the first bit of oil into it. So I'll use the sandpaper basically to set oil into it. Sorry, working up here. Sometimes I forget that, you know, there's people watching me work. And I'm not just talking to myself like a fucking crazy person. Boy, that's looking pretty good. I want to do a little bit more of the back of the head here, and then we can start moving on. Holy shoot. You can see, you can tell I have a damn toddler. Said, holy shoot. What the hell? Slightly whiter piece. There we go. And I think what's going on back here on the head is that I'm sanding against the grain because I got this crazy swirl going on back here. I'm gonna try and be a little bit nicer about what direction I'm sanding. But see what I mean? Like there's definitely like this little swirl action happening right here, which is complicating sanding this a little bit. So really, really what it comes down to is you want this finish as even and smooth as possible because you want light reflection. You want this thing to look dazzling when you finish it, So that is the trade-off, is you got to sit there and sand and sand and sand until you have something that will do that. Wow. Made it quite a ways. That's not too bad. All right, now we'll move back up to the 220. And this is just getting that surface smooth. Really excited we don't have to worry about eyes anymore. Really, really excited about that. I'm pleased as punch. Yeah, this is looking pretty good, guys. It's looking pretty nice. My my last bit of 220 here is falling apart. I may end up calling the stream early tonight, but we'll see. We'll see how far I can push this before it just stops being effective at all. Of course, any excuse to go to the hardware store is a good excuse. Wonderful place to go and waste your money. Because it always seems when you go to the hardware store that you're going to end up buying 8 things that you didn't need before. But that once you got to the store, you were like, oh, I could use these things. All right, guys. I think that this piece of sandpaper has seen its last hurrah, and I am sadly bereft of any more 220. So I need to go to the hardware store to finish this round of sand, but I think we made some damn good progress today. I mean, this thing is starting to get smooth. It's looking all stripey. Got some little eyes going on. I'm not unhappy about this. I am very pleased actually that this is coming along quite nicely like this. It ought to turn out to be a nice project. All right, guys, you have a good night. I'm gonna drink the rest of my beer. See you next time.